CYC, Christian Youth Channel.
Good evening everyone, welcome to another episode of The Lighthouse. Lighthouse is our way of bringing God's light into every home. This evening I am your host James and I'm with
Martina.
How you going, Martina?
Good. Yeah, good. Thanks. How you going, James?
I'm doing excellent,
I
honestly.
just had a really quick question.
Go for it.
What happened to your head? Like, what happened to all that?
Yeah, I've been told I had a punch on with a lawnmower. Now this is a fresh cut, but I've decided to leave the top a bit long. I've been growing it out. It's kind of the trending style.
Creative. I'm very creative.
Kind of moving with the sheep.
Even
With
looks
Christ
like
as
one
my
too.
shepherd. Doesn't look too bad, does it?
Like, it's alright.
Oh, your hair looks good as well. Rocking the wavy look.
Thank you. I also just cut mine during ISO, but
Oh, that was the thing that everyone was doing.
yeah, really
Doing
was.
drastic changes to their haircut. So if you guys have been tuning in, you would have known that we started a new series 2 episodes ago called You Know You've Thought It.
So this series has been all about questions you've always wanted to ask but never really had the courage or thought it was abnormal to ask. So this episode is going to be with Fr Yacoub about does God actually hear my prayers? And tonight we're continuing with the same topic and same series. So this series is all about the questions we've always thought of or never really had the courage to say out loud. And last week we've had Fr Yacoub with us talking about does God hear my prayers? Tonight we're continuing with the same series and we're also with Fr Yacoub tonight as well. And the topic is, did Jesus really resurrect from the dead on the 3rd day? But first we're going to just listen to a wonderful hymn by St. Mark's Youth, and here it is.
All I had was a liar and some sheep. Now I had a starter, how could I preach? Rejected and abused by my siblings. Sinned for so long, could I be holy? David, Moses, Joseph and Mary came part of his body and expressed him. Breakthrough, transform me, pull me to my calling. In your likeness, we are the past that make up your goodness. Though we're different, we are still little Christ inside. Finding our own light. If you gently unwrap me from this seat and wash my sins, Lord, I'll submit. Masterpiece, transform me into truth and glory. In your likeness, we are the past that make up your goodness. Though we're different, we are still little Christ inside. Finding our own light. In your likeness, we are the past that make up your goodness. Though we're different, we are still little Christ inside. Shining forth your light.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lighthouse with our special guest Fr Yacoub Magdy. Today we have the topic of the talk today is, has he really resurrected on the 3rd day? So take it away, Bruno.
Thank you, James. Thank you accepting me. The proof of resurrection is the easiest thing to prove. Because think a little bit of the story of these disciples following the Lord all the time, leaving everything, 3 years with him, and then all of a sudden he died, and suppose that he didn't resurrect, will they ever be Christian? If I ask you now, if you come to a conclusion, evidence 100% that Jesus did not resurrect, will you stay being Christian? Of course not. The very fact that Christianity was not destroyed in a couple of months shows that Jesus was resurrected. What these disciples move from one place to other say good news. What's the good news? A good teacher was killed and died? Is that good news? What? The proof of Christianity is the fact that Christianity survived. And the good thing is that the writings of these disciples are available for us. No one doubts that this is the writing of St. Paul. Even atheists know that St. Paul is the writer of this. Look at the logic he speaks with. In one of his epistles say that if Jesus did not resurrect, then I am a false witness. I am a Jew. I am false witness against God that Jesus, he did not. Then the logic that they speak with gives me evidence that they were not naive. They cannot be deceived. Like St. Thomas in his doubt that he has to touch the Lord in order to believe. To me, it's wonderful. It's evidence for me that those people are not naive. They really understand. And they didn't say that we saw him a few minutes. He stayed with us 40 days. We shared with him life after this. And he restored the courage that happened to these people. The very fact that all of them accepted martyrdom, they had a chance to escape. They did not. Had they received something, wealth, money, women, whatever, I would suspect, but they received nothing. The disciples following Jesus received nothing on this earth, not at all. They were poor, no money, they suffered, they were persecuted, they lost every dignity in this life. For one point that they are saying, he's alive. And can they be liars? Can they be deceived? They are not naive to be deceived. Deceived of what? Deceived of ideas maybe, but they say, we saw him. We touched him. So the proof of resurrection, there's one person, philosophy professor. His name is Josh McDowell. Josh McDowell. He was atheist and he wrote books against Christianity. And he started writing a book against resurrection to say that it's a myth. No one dies and gets resurrected. While he was trying to find evidence, he couldn't. He started thinking that the evidence for his resurrection are much stronger. He ended by believing and writing a very strong book called The Resurrection Factor. It's a small book called The Resurrection Factor. He analyzes every aspect of possible ideas scattered among people about where is his body. They say they stole the body of the Lord. Who stole the body? Who would hide the body if he's dead? The disciples? Imagine that after that they die for a lie. They hide the body and bury it somewhere, and they say he's alive, and they die. If the Jews are the ones that took the body, they would reveal it to destroy the whole idea. If the Romans, so where's the body? That's one point about where's the body. But the main thing is the understanding of the spirit of Christianity and the good news and the reality. The other thing that's very, very important is the way the Gospels are written. There's no exaggeration. They wrote it in a very simple way. He was born with animals. They say he was born with animals. They didn't hide that. Who in his right mind would like to glorify a hero by saying that he was born with animals? And he was born from a very poor mother. She's an orphan. If the story is fiction by 4 Gospels, would they say that the evidence came on the mouth of women? You know, 2,000 years ago, that the witness of a woman was not reliable. But what happened is that Mary Magdalene is the first one that saw him. Then the Bible says as it is. The simplicity in writing the Gospels show me that they cannot be liars, they cannot be naive, they understand very well what they are saying, and they followed him, and they accepted this happily, and Christianity flourished in very short time, that is spread all over the world because of this miraculous effect of the courage that they saw the Lord. And there were hundreds of reasons to destroy Christianity. The animosity between the Jewish and this new faith, the attack from the Roman Empire against the church, could have destroyed the only reason for Christianity to survive is the fact that Jesus is alive. So, in fact, when we like to give evidence to people that do not believe in God, the best thing to speak to them is about the resurrection, because that's the easiest thing to believe, easiest thing to prove. We can expect movement in the history to survive if the leaders of this movement benefited from it. They received positions in the society, they had power, they used their power to expand and get some benefits, then they may extend their existence. But in Christianity, the leaders of Christianity received nothing on earth. They actually were in pain. And the fact that they were martyrs is not written in the Bible, it's written in the history. Like the history, no one would argue that all the disciples were martyrs, except John, who was spent the rest of his life in exile. But the other 11 died, and they could have saved their lives by just stopping the idea that he's alive. If they stop saying he's alive, then they will live. But they couldn't deny the fact that he was alive and we saw him. And so this is enough proof for me that it's impossible. That it's not one or two. It's one of the epistles of St. Paul. He said that he appeared alive after his death to more than 500 people in one place. And he continued, elaborated, and said the majority of them are still alive. If this story was wrong and Christianity had many enemies, sure, people will say, where are they? Where are these 500? So he said it at a time that the majority of the 500 are still alive. And he gave it as an evidence to the resurrection. So if the story of resurrection was a myth, then of course it could have been destroyed by people saying, where are the 500? We haven't seen that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abuna. We just have a couple questions. So the first one is, what would the resurrection mean to me personally? Like, how can I practically live my life through the resurrection?
Well, the fact that Jesus is alive is tremendous support to me. First, he can hear me. I can rely on him. He's not dead, he's alive. And he is capable to hear me, he's capable to help me. He invited me to follow him. And it gives me evidence that from now on, I'm not scared of death. Because Jesus said what he said is very true. He said, what happened to me will happen to you. As I resurrected and received this glorious body after resurrection, you will receive the same. So we consider him the first from those who are resurrected. And I'll be resurrected as well because of his promise. So the resurrection of the Lord gives me tremendous power that he can keep me with him. He can visit me. I can have encounter with him, not necessarily by my eyes, but knowing that He's there to answer me and I belong to Him. Death is no longer fearful to me, because death is not the end. I've seen that Jesus is alive. So death didn't conquer Him. The worst enemy to humanity is death. And that's the last enemy, as the Bible says. And this last enemy now is not an enemy, because we look at in the New Testament, particularly after the resurrection of Jesus, death became sleep. The word death became the word sleep. So it's a sleep, and we will arise from sleep, which is the resurrection. So resurrection to me means no fear of death. And that is the help for martyrs, that I know that's not my end. And help also to consolidate, to give me some nice feeling when one of my beloved ones pass away. It's not the end. It's another phase, because I saw Jesus alive. And also the fact that Jesus arose from dead means that His promises are true. What He said is true. And He said to me, to all of us, that one day we'll resurrect and be with Him, and He'll come to take us. He'll accept us. He is preparing for us a destination, which is His kingdom. Because He came from heaven and returned back to heaven, all His talks are about heaven. Now it's common in the churches to speak about heaven and treasure in heaven, but these words were shocking to people at that time, because no one thought this way. Everyone thought that the glorious thing is to be rich and strong. Then Jesus came and said something very different. Blessed are the poor in the spirit. Why? Because they have another kingdom, which is kingdom in heaven. So a resurrection to me means my eyes are full, looking up to the day that I'll be with Him in His kingdom. And that's my joy. If I lose something on earth, including even my life, this will not be the end. Jesus said that don't be scared of those who kill the body. No one could say something like that except Him, because He is the one that passed through death and became alive. So He says that don't be scared from death, because after death there's something. In His talk He said those people who kill the body can do nothing after that. What they could do after this? Jesus can do something after this to me, which means that I sleep. And so resurrection to me is the strong of Christianity. And as I repeat that if Jesus didn't arise, definitely I wouldn't be Christian. Why should I be Christian? Why? Because of His teaching? No, it's not sufficient. It's His person alive that makes me belong to Him.
Thank you.
Thanks, Warner. Got one more question. So in the epistles of St. Paul, there's this a general attitude, or like I would say flavor of the writing, that there's a sense that God is coming. Jesus is coming again, like soon, very soon. And 2,000 years later, it hasn't happened. Jesus hasn't come. So is it realistic, or is that idea still a realistic way of living?
Well, the word soon is explained by different people in different ways. Compared to eternity, thousands of years are soon. It's true that in the first century people thought that it's imminent. It may happen next year or within 5 years or so, which is good for people to be prepared. So the language of the Lord is coming soon is good for me to be prepared. But if it doesn't happen in my generation or my age, like it's not expected that the end of the world will happen before some events that didn't happen. So there are steps that have to happen before the second coming, and these steps did not fully happen. So it shows us that it's not imminent in terms of years. No one knows the hour, but it's good not to know the hour and to be prepared. and this is one of the teaching of the Lord. Be prepared. Yani don't try to find a year or prediction to know this will happen within 10 years, 5 years. This is not my, because I can end my life regardless. If the Lord comes in my generation or not, it doesn't matter, because I will one day see him by my death, not by the end of the world. So you are right that the flavor of his writing in all the writing of the first century showed that his coming is very near, within years. But that's misunderstanding of people. When the Lord say to us, be prepared, I can come at any time, like a thief. If you are at a house, you don't know the time the thief will come. So be prepared. And the idea of be prepared is very, very important. Yani, awake, be prepared for the coming of the Lord or seeing the Lord in general.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ravuna, for joining us. It was a blessing to have you on the show with us tonight.
Thank you, Martin.
So this concludes our episode of this series, You Know You've Thought It. And thank you guys for tuning in, and have a good night and stay safe.